Welcome back to the Business Ready for Sale podcast, the podcast that helps you build a business that's not just successful, but truly saleable. Today, we're talking about one of the biggest mindset shifts a business owner can make. What if the goal isn't to work harder, but to make yourself redundant? Now, that might sound counterintuitive, especially if you're used to being the engine of your business. But if you want to build something that you can step away from or eventually sell, then it's the systems that need to do the heavy lifting, not you, the business owner. And that's where today's guest comes in. Nicola Depiazzi is a certified SYSTEMologist, a systems expert, and the founder of Green Pillars Consulting. She helps all those time-poor, overwhelmed business owners get out of the weeds and create documented, repeatable systems, and all without becoming a slave to standard operating procedures and manuals. She's trained in systemology, a proven methodology developed by a guy called David Jennings, who wrote the book SYSTEMologist. You may have come across that. And she's helped dozens of business owners create businesses that run smoothly without them having to be there. So if you've ever thought, I can't sell this business because it all depends on me, then stay tuned, you're in the right place. This episode is going to give you some clarity, motivation, and practical steps to start changing that. So let's get into it. Welcome, Nicola.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you. And I will let the listeners know I got you to present, or you kindly presented to my Business Owners Taking Action mentoring group last week, and the feedback was fantastic. They all loved it, and it certainly opened my eyes to a few things as well. So tell us a little bit about how you got into this and doing what you're doing today.
Yeah, so like you said in that lovely introduction, I'm Nicola Depiazzi. My business is Green Pillars Co., and I'm a certified systemologist. And that means that I'm trained and certified to deliver the systemology methodology that was created by David Jennings. And what led me to doing this, I've been doing it for about 19 months now, but I've been in business for around 9 years. And I was running a marketing consultancy that turned into a coaching business. I was coaching mums who were building businesses from home, and mums are some of the most time-poor people I know. And so as well as coaching them to get better at their digital marketing and find clients in a quick, efficient way, I was also very much focusing on what makes us successful as people and business owners and entrepreneurs. And that all really comes down to that sort of invisible stuff that you don't see. So our mindset, our time management, our productivity, how our habits affect how we work, and all of that stuff that really makes a big difference in how we use the time we have available and what we get done and what we therefore achieve. And I don't know, systemology landed in my lap one day, and I read the book, and it just absolutely spoke to me that I just jumped feet first into it and became certified, and just knew that this was a way that I could help make bigger businesses have more of an impact on the world, and really help people create efficient, well-run businesses that, like you say, that the whole point is that we build businesses that aren't entirely reliant on the business owner.
Yeah, I'm calling this podcast Make Yourself Redundant, Why Systems Build Sellable Businesses. So, in the context of getting businesses ready for sale or having a business that will run without you being there, why is it such a good goal to have to make yourself redundant as a business owner?
Well, the business is only going to be as good as you create it. And if it relies entirely on you, then in the words of Michael Gerber, who wrote the E-Myth, you don't have a business, you've only got a job. But it's a job in your own business, but it's still no more than having a job. And the whole point is, if you can't take a holiday and you can't step away and you can't run without you there, then you may as well be working for somebody else and getting all the benefits of that and your 4 weeks paid annual leave and all the other things that, there are advantages to having paid sick leave and your employer contributing to your super and all those things. So most business owners I know don't want that. They don't want to be trapped into someone else's 9 to 5, but they haven't also got the benefits of being their own boss. So they are unable to reach their earning potential. They're unable to take a break, step out, get that work-life balance that they may have wanted. And then in terms of selling your business and working towards something that you can sell, you're only going to be able to sell what you've created that can run, without you. If the business is entirely reliant on you, there is nothing to sell. Like if all of the knowledge of the business is in your head, there's nothing to pass on. So my aim is to get that knowledge out of heads, make the business less key person dependent, have it running like a well-oiled machine that can be sold as a valuable asset and not just something that's creating cash flow day in, day out.
Yeah, you're creating an asset, not a job, I think is something you said the other day.
Yes, absolutely.
And yeah, and you're right. When a buyer's looking to buy a business, they look at the business owner and say, well, what are you having to do in the business? And then could I do that? Do I want to do that? And if, So, okay, so SYSTEMologist and David Jennings, tell us a little bit about that. What's SYSTEMologist? What does it mean? What's the methodology?
Yeah, so David created a framework that is sort of super simple to follow. It's 7 steps and it works, right? It's been proven to work thousands of times around the world. And the reason I like it is because it doesn't just focus on documenting the knowledge and creating SOPs. It's almost like creating a whole way of operating your business in that you're analyzing your functions and really deeply understanding how your business works. Then you're capturing the knowledge and making it useful knowledge. We don't want to just tick a box to say, yeah, we've done our systems, we can move on now to the next project. We want the systems to become this sort of living, breathing part of the business. So the aim is to create a single source of truth for how everything functions within the business. But then beyond that, we want to be looking at how we can refine the business and truly create a well-oiled machine so that it is running with precision, because it's only really at that point that the business owner can step away and allow the team to do things, trust that they've got the business running the way they like it running. Things are being done at best practice because they figured out what that is. They've brought everyone else up to that standard. And so that they know that the business is running consistently on repeat every single time, no matter who people are dealing with within the business. And so that's the main aim. And it's all very well preparing your business for sale, but in our world, we want people to be running their business every single day as if they could sell it tomorrow, because that's going to be a whole lot more fun, more profitable. Your team are going to want to be there. It means you're going to have this harmonious culture, open communication, always addressing problems and looking at how you can fix them. Like, what's the system to fix the problem that comes up? And it's almost like you're on a journey to create this sellable business, but you're sort of in it at the same time so that it's just more fun for everybody. Because the opposite to that is slightly chaotic operations, endless mistakes, constant interruptions from the team, feeling like you can never get the right people. No one does what you ask them to do. Your performance is a bit erratic. Your money's sort of good one day, not great the next. So inconsistent cash flow. And then your reputation out there in the world is not great. You might have some glowing reviews, but several really bad ones as well. So we just want to flip that on its head And I think you said in the introduction, it really is a mindset shift. It's this taking what you've always thought as a business, being a business owner, which has to be like really hard graft. You have to work every hour under the sun. You always have to be there. The business cannot run without you. And just completely flipping that on its head and getting people to realize that actually you can create a business that runs without you there, which means that either you are freeing up your time to focus on scaling the business and making it worth more when you do come to sell, or just being able to step out and having it managed. And we know that when buyers are looking at buying a business, they're very attracted to businesses that are already managed by somebody else, and the business owner is not heavily involved in the day-to-day operations.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. The business that's under management will sell much more easily than one where the business owners are working in the business. And a business, my mantra is that a business that's ready for sale, you alluded to it, a business that's ready for sale is well worth keeping, because it's producing, you're freeing yourself up to have holidays and take time out and spend time with family and things like that, which, I see so many business owners that are missing out on life because they're spending all their time having to be in the business.
100%. And that's what I talk to business owners all the time. Like, our first conversation is, what is this all for? Are you there just to create an income for your family, or are you there to create a freedom business that truly allows you to enjoy life as well? Like, don't wake up in 15 years' time and realize you've got a successful business, but you've completely missed out on your kids growing up, or, being able to enjoy the fruits of your business. What's the point if you're just stuck? Like I said before, you might as well just go and get a job.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is from Stephen Covey, who said, "No man on his deathbed ever wished he'd spent more time at the office."
Yeah, it's so good.
Which I think is a great sort of a bit of a wake-up call for some business owners. So
I think, unfortunately, a lot of business owners, if you talk to them about creating a business that doesn't need them to be there, that's almost just a stretch too far. Like, they can't actually imagine that could even be possible. So it's the job of people like us to just help them very slowly change the way they think about business and understand that there should be a bigger plan. And that really from day one, they need an exit strategy and should be working towards that, not just hoping that one day they'll be able to sell something because they've spent years pouring their heart and soul into it. Doesn't necessarily equate to the big cash bonus at the end of the day, because if it's not an asset, like we've said, if it's not something they've built to create for sale, number one, it could take years to sell. They won't get the value they want for it. They might have to be stuck in the business for another 12 months after sale to help the new owners. And, we can avoid all that by just focusing on how to run your business well while you're in it, so that you could sell it if the unthinkable happened, but also you can sell it when you're ready.
Yeah. I always say that it's best to sell when you want to sell, and not when you have to. There's nothing worse than being forced into a situation, for all sorts of circumstances that can happen, that you have to
we
sell.
talk about worst case scenarios all the time, and it's a bit depressing, but I think business owners need to have that awareness that you don't know what's around the corner. And, what's around the corner could be huge scaling quickly, which would be amazing, but then you need your systems in place to scale with you. Or what's around the corner could be sickness, accident, having to go overseas to look after a relative, whatever. And then what's going to happen? Is it worth putting the effort in now to prepare for the worst case scenario? Yes, I think it probably is, if this is your baby that you've built and you want to succeed.
Yeah. Do you come across the sort of mindset that, well, my business is different and every day is different and every client is different. And so how can I systemize something like that? Do you get that very often?
All the time. All the time, yes. And I just think I think partly the problem is that systems are not talked about enough, in my opinion. I think most business owners know that they need systems, but it's the sort of thing that doesn't ever go to the top of the list because they're fighting other fires, and attention is taken with other things that need their attention much more urgently. And so they don't ever sort of think of it as a priority. And then when they do think about it, it's so overwhelming and they think it's going to be really difficult and time consuming. And I think it's easier just to go, oh no, there's no way my business can be systemized. It's too unique. Everything we do is bespoke. How can I possibly get all of this knowledge that's going around in my head every single day down into some sort of system? And document it. And so, I think sometimes it's just easier for them to brush it aside than have to face it. And so that's when I come in with my systemology methodology, because it does work and it does allow people to break things down into very small chunks. And we do it bit by bit and we focus in where the business really needs the attention first. And, the system works for a reason. I certainly wouldn't expect a business owner to be able to take a whole week off from what they normally do and systemize their whole business. It doesn't work like that. Like, it's a journey you need to go on. And again, that's that mindset shift of needing to commit to starting and then staying on the journey to make it happen so that you do get that well-oiled machine. I'm always banging on about this well-oiled machine, but I find that that's a really good way of describing what we're trying to achieve, because it's really not until you've got to that point that you can safely step back, knowing that your business is not key person dependent and it's not reliant on you, and that it is functioning at that optimum level. So you don't need to be stepping in to fix mistakes. You don't need to be stepping in to sort stuff out because you've refined it.
We'll be back after a quick break.
I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I thought I would jump in quickly at this point just to say that if you're interested in finding out how saleable your business is and getting some tips on how to make it more saleable, then you can do that through a quick online assessment via my website, and it's free and will take you about 3 or 4 minutes. You'll get a personalized score for your business in 7 different areas, and you'll get tips, again, personalized tips on how to make your business more saleable and more attractive to buyers. So just go to johndenton.com.au. That's JOHNDENTON.com.au. Find the big yellow button on the home page and complete the assessment. It's completely free and will give you a great idea of where your business stands right now. You can also find a link in the show notes to this episode. So sorry for the interruption, but let's get back to the episode. Yeah, I often say it's the start that stops some people.
Yeah,
because they don't
absolutely.
get started. What do you find are the biggest excuses from business owners that they're not systemizing? What stops them?
I think I've said already, mostly it's time and overwhelm. They don't know where to start. It all just seems really hard. They get a lot of pushback from the team, particularly of, we've always done it this way, or why do we need to suddenly be doing this? And also there does, like, if you're going to do it properly, particularly following systemology, there's a bit of a culture shift that needs to happen in the business. Like, you need to, like I just said, you need to commit and then you need to follow it through. And I just think people are very stuck in there. Well, this is the way it's always been done. And this is the way my dad did it, or whatever. And they don't want to shift. Which is another reason why having a framework to follow makes sense to me, because it works and it gets people to address all of those things. So, for example, business owners are not suddenly going to find, 3 free hours every day to suddenly start systemizing. But we recognize that it's not the business owner that should be doing the systemizing. So they have a part in it and they guide what's happening, but we get the businesses to nominate a systems champion and that they take the lead, because somebody needs to lead it. Otherwise it will fall apart at the first hurdle. And we make sure that the systems are created in a way that they can be easily found and used and refined and edited and integrated into the business. It's a big part of what we do, is making sure that there's integration that happens. Because again, we don't want to be wasting our time doing all our systems, documenting all of the knowledge for them to just sit there doing nothing. Like, they need to be a part of the business and being used day in, day out, but not just used. We want to create that sort of feedback loop that allows us to come back to the systems, to review them, to identify where the bottlenecks are, to fix them, to see what the system is that's going to make everything flow smoothly again. So, there's a lot of things within SYSTEMology that help counteract some of those things that the business owners will put up as excuses not to do it.
So, we can always find reasons not to do stuff. So, where do you start? What are the core areas of the business that should be systemized first, and where do you start with a client?
Yeah, great question. So I think it's very easy for business owners to assume that they have to kind of delve deep into departments, or tell that their head of departments or the team members in certain areas to systemize their roles and their responsibilities. But in fact, we don't do it that way at all. we want to first look at the area of the business where it's going to have the most impact on how the business is functioning. So the first step of SYSTEMology is define. And there we're really looking at the cash flow generating activities. So how is the business consistently making money, and how can we make that be even more consistent and function at an absolute optimum level, so that the business owner can take a little step back and create more space to then focus on other areas of the business. So that means that we look at the customer journey, like I said. So we're really looking at marketing activities, the sales process, and how you deliver your core product or service. So initially, it's marketing, sales, operations, and a very small amount of finance, because you need to get paid. But we don't delve deep into the finance department at this stage. So we're really looking at the activities that are highly impacted by the day-to-day functionings of the business, and how you deliver your core product or service to your ideal client. And that's basically where we start. We start by process mapping. We call it the critical client flow. So it's those critical processes that the client goes through for your business to make money consistently, day in, day out. And from there, we would then look at other areas of the business, and we'd delve deeper into things like finance and HR and your management systems. But we don't want to go there first, because finance is quite easy to document. But if you spent months on that, you're not really having a big impact on how your business functions day to day.
So the critical client flow, I think you called it. It's what brings the money into the business.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a good place to start to me. And the first step is define. What's after define?
Yeah, so after define, we then assign. So we look at what the systems actually are within that critical client flow that need to be captured. And people are often surprised, because one of the reasons they don't systemize is they think there's going to be like hundreds and thousands of systems, and where would you possibly start? So we know that there are probably hundreds of systems running in a business every single week, but not all of them are essential. So the assign stage, which is number 2, really, depending on the business, it is anywhere between 30 and 40 to 50 systems that we need to do first. And then we assign those systems to the knowledgeable workers, so the people that are actually doing those systems in the business. And sometimes that is the business owner. It would always have the business owner attached to every system, because they're at a stage where they've been running everything in the office and they're ready to delegate, and so they can free up their time, and that's fine. Sometimes they've got a big team. It might be a business of, they've already built between 10 and 20 people in the business. And so we allocate the systems to the people that know that system the best. So they're called the knowledgeable worker. But essentially what we're doing is capturing their knowledge, because they know how to do it best. And hopefully that is best practice. And if not, we just capture it anyway, because we just want to get to version 1 at this stage, because at the moment nothing exists. And then we can keep refining it until we've got best practice. And then that particular system for that area of the business is forever documented and can be used to onboard new people really quickly, can be used as training. And it's just there for... It's like insurance, you wouldn't skip actual insurance for your business. So your systems is there as insurance. So if one of your best workers walked out the door, or got pregnant, or left, whatever, just got sick, that knowledge is captured so that it can be used to train new people. It can be used so people can step in, they can help each other out, people can take holidays without stressing. So that's the assign phase, as we actually start to look at what the systems are that we need to capture.
There's something you said when you were talking to my group the other day, which I wrote down, which I thought was really makes it and people understand. You said people change, come and go, but systems remain.
Mm.
I thought that's a fantastic way of looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that comes from the E-Myth from Gerber. And he very much talks about how we want to be running your business according to the business functions within the business, not according to the people. Because people are essential to businesses, and they can't run without a team, and you can't scale without a team. But really, it's the functions within the business that will always remain the same, and the people can up and go whenever they want.
Build your business around systems, not build your business around people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, as Ray Kroc, the famous McDonald's guy, allegedly said, if you have intelligent systems, you don't need intelligent people. I'm not sure if he really said that, but it makes the point.
It does. It makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so we've defined them, we've assigned them to the knowledgeable people in the business around that work through those, that have got the knowledge on those systems and processes. So what comes after that?
After that, we start to extract and organize. So then we need to start getting the knowledge out of those knowledgeable workers' heads. And that's when the systems champion really comes into their own. So if people work with me on a one-to-one basis, I can be their systems champion, and I can meet with them and meet with their knowledgeable workers that have been assigned to the systems and extract the knowledge. But if the business wants to do it themselves, or join my group program where it's more self-paced and they do it themselves with guidance, then they need a systems champion. And so it's the systems champion that does the doing in this sense. So they record the systems being done. There's so much technology available to us these days to make that super easy. And it's rinse and repeat, right? So it doesn't need to be overwhelming and time consuming. Once you've done it once, you just keep going, keep repeating. And again, the beauty of systemology is that we break it down into manageable chunks. So even those 30 to 50 systems that we've identified that need to be captured, we do a few a week or a few a fortnight. You don't need to be thinking that you've got to clear your diary for days on end to get this done. And then the systems champion has a system to systemize that they follow every single time the same way. We're going to have much more success with things if we have a system to follow. And so I help get them set up with the tech that they need in place and everything that they need to actually record the systems and then document them and then store them. That's another quite vital component of having success with systemizing, is knowing where you're going to store your systems. And that looks like preferably they use a platform that is purpose-built for systems, like System Hub or Process Street, or there's probably others, but those are the two main ones that I know. But if the business is using Google Drive or Microsoft and they want to keep their systems there, they absolutely can, but they just need to be made. They need to be in the cloud. They need to be stored in a way that makes a lot of sense. We tend to store things by department. So they need, it's quite obvious that if things are being stored all over the place on different people's desktops in different folders and they're unable to be found, then you're going to get a lot more resistance about changing the culture of the business to becoming systems-led. So we just want to make it easy for people, because as soon as it's complicated, we switch off. That's just human nature. So they need to be stored somewhere where they can be found really easily. They can be used. They can be integrated into your business in terms of putting them into your task and project management, or just being able to be used frequently so that they can be referred to, because there's no point going through this whole process of documenting all of the knowledge in the business if they're then just going to sit there collecting dust and no one's ever going to use them.
Yeah, and again, it's about that continuous and never-ending improvement. If the systems are easily accessible, and then when things don't quite work as they should, you can go back and look at the system and say, what's wrong with the system? So it's about when things go wrong, it's typically something in the system, not the people necessarily. So look at fixing up the systems and improving the systems.
Absolutely. In fact, if I can leave people with anything from this conversation, it's that the system is always the solution. So any problem that comes up in your business, it's very easy for us to blame the person. It's very easy for us to say, oh, like I've shown this person how to do it 5 times already. Or, just constantly thinking that you can't get good people. But actually, go back to your system. How does the system need changing or editing, or how can we create a system that is going to fix this problem that keeps coming up? So always look at the system as the solution. And then in no time, you'll have a business that runs really fluently.
Yeah. And you talked with my group about minimal viable systems as well. Can you explain that for the listeners, please?
Absolutely. And I'm very happy to give you some resources if that's useful.
I can put them in the show notes and people can download them.
Yeah. So, like I said, where we start is with the critical, sort of mission critical systems that we need for the business to function well immediately. How we get cash flow coming into the business. So that's your marketing, sales and operations, but still only quite a small chunk of those departments, really. And then the end game for businesses is to reach minimum viable systems. And I've got a great kind of mind map that you can look at for that. So it's really looking at what are the minimum systems that you need in every department of the business for your business to be functioning at an optimum level every single day. And so we look at each department and we identify what happens on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis. And then we just make sure that we start to capture the systems related to those tasks. So we start to look at what happens in the departments, at what frequency, and then that gives us an idea of where we need to go to next. So the things that happen regularly, that are repeatable tasks, sort of daily, weekly, monthly, that's where we would start with the ongoing journey of reaching a fully systemized business.
I wrote down now what, when, who, and how to, which I thought sort of summed that up. It's looking at, well, what happens, when or how frequently does it happen, who is involved in that, and then how do they do it? I mean, that's essentially what you're documenting, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. And I think often the accountability piece is missing in businesses. So you're not attaching somebody to the system or the task that needs doing. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a journey, right? So we get to minimum viable systems, and then at that point, once we've identified and got full knowledge about all the stuff that's actually happening in the business, and one of the biggest pieces of feedback I get from business owners is the clarity piece, is like having that real deep understanding of all the functions that happen in the business, not just they happen because they have to happen. You know, like you have to pay your bills, you have to answer the phone, you have to like convert those leads into sales. But have you ever really analyzed exactly what's happening when and how frequently? And so once we know that, what we really want to do is start to plug all of those tasks into your task and project management. And that's when you know that you've got a well-oiled machine. So you've got your tasks that are written down, they automatically repeat. So yeah, you've got your who does what by when. They've got the accountability piece there as well, because the task gets allocated to someone. But then you also plug in the how to, which is where the systems come in. And then really, you know, as a business owner, you should just be able to peer in from above, from the balcony, and just check that things are happening without needing to be involved.
Yeah, so then you can focus on improving the business and getting more business and scaling the business.
Exactly. It frees the owner up to be focusing on future activities, on strategic growth, or on planning how they want to remove themselves.
Yeah, being proactive as opposed to reactive. There are so many business owners I come across that are, I call it hooked on adrenaline. You know, it's that adrenaline of always being in a crisis type mode that drives them.
Yeah.
It's much easier to be reactive than to be proactive. This is part of the mindset culture thing that we've talked about, that some business owners should really be firemen or policemen or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they then sort of kid themselves that it can't be any other way. And that's when they convince themselves that the business couldn't possibly run without them because they're so heavily involved and they don't know any different. And it's our job to just plant those little seeds of how it can be different and how you can just adjust the way you think to make it less reliable on you.
Yeah, I find it's very, and you've talked about this quite a bit, it's that mindset change that's required, you know, and it can be quite difficult with people that are business owners that are entrepreneurial. I mean, you know, Michael Gerber talks about it in the E-Myth about why people start a business. Typically, they're either the technical person, the tradie that's good at what they do and think they can do it better doing it for themselves, or it's the entrepreneur who has the great ideas and loves creating things, you know. And I know from experience of working with some of these entrepreneurs that you can convince them of the value of having systems, but then they believe that systems are for everybody else and not for them.
Yeah, I think that I 100% agree. And I think there's that belief that systems are going to cramp your style and cramp your creativity, and particularly those entrepreneurial thinkers who are real visionaries. Like you say, they've got the big ideas. But ideally, they should then be passing down the doing to the people that are good at doing, and they can continue with the big ideas and the big thinking, because they're not going to be the ones that systemize, which is again why systemology steps in, and we very much identify that the business owner is not the one to be doing the documenting, either because they're so busy or they are just not that way inclined.
Yeah. I mean, you need the entrepreneur in the business, you need the creativity, but So my recommendation for those people is to put a general manager in to manage the operations and everything that happens in the business.
Yeah, because in the end, even if you are full of drive and that real, creative thinker, you're only going to scale your business to a point where it can not go no further if you're not actually going to run it the way it needs to be run. Like, businesses need managing, because otherwise it's utter chaos and you're only going to get to a point where it won't go any further.
It's a money-making machine that operates without you having to be there. Ideally, it's getting back to the selling businesses. I often get asked if, well, having systems, is it going to increase the value of the business? And it's not necessarily impacting the value of the business, but it makes the business a lot more attractive. So it will attract buyers, it will sell more easily. And the thing is, if you've got multiple buyers, the value goes up anyway, because you've now got multiple people interested in the business. So it's that supply and demand thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. It's not that it's going to increase the value necessarily, but it does make it a lot more attractive to potential buyers. And I just think if you've spent the last 20, 40, 60 years building a thing, your business, your baby, you're going to want to get the most from it at the end of the day and make the selling process as easy as possible. And if that means identifying 5 years out from when you ideally want to sell, that you need to start thinking about modernizing things, creating this sort of machine that runs on repeat. And that involves system mind. Like, you can't hand over what's in your head. You don't need to, but ideally you would have a playbook that you can kind of pass on. The same as if you want to franchise or repeat what you're doing in another region. You need the playbook. And that comes back to the McDonald's thing again. Like, they are the most systemized business in the world. But look what they've done. Like, it's just rinse and repeat. You know that you're going to get the same burger here as you will in another region. And the business is going to be running with complete efficiency because they know what they're doing and it's systemized. So we don't need to be McDonald's today, but we need to start to aim for something.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's a nice segue into a podcast that I'm setting up to do with someone on how to franchise your business, because that's selling your business many times over.
Absolutely.
So why just sell it once? Set it up so you can sell it multiple times.
Yeah, absolutely. But you need to get the original one working consistently on repeat before you can replicate it. Otherwise you're going to end up in complete chaos. But yeah.
No, and that's a nice segue into a podcast I've got coming shortly. And it's a good way to look at it. And if you could walk into a shopping center somewhere and have a look around, the majority of the businesses in that shopping center will be part of a franchise. And, a franchise is a turnkey business. So you can bring someone in, turn the key, and the business runs. I mean, that's, to me, is the goal. If you can keep that in your mind. I don't use well-oiled machine. I use running like a Swiss watch.
Yes.
It was something when I was managing a business that people got sick of hearing me saying, we've got to get this running like a Swiss watch. But that's how it should run.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every day of the week, not just in the couple of months before you want to sell.
That's right. Just a couple of, I'll ask you for an example in a minute, but I'll give you an example of a business that I sold. In fact, it was the first, when I got out of my training business, which was part of a franchise and very well systemized, and being a registered training organization, it needs to be systemized anyway. But then I got into business broking, so that I was selling other people's businesses. And interestingly, the first business that I listed was owned by, it was a training business as well. It was an RTO, but it was owned by a husband and wife. And the wife was German by ethnicity, I think you call it. And she was very much into systems. And as an example, back in those days, you know, the yellow folder you get on Explore in Windows.
Yeah.
You got all these yellow folders. Well, this is going back quite a few years, but she had found an app where you could color those folders to different colors. So she had colored folders on her computer system. So the pink ones were all the HR things, the blue ones were all the finance things, and like the green ones were the operations things and delivery and so on. But then what she'd done is because again, this is before cloud computing or anything, she had replicated all that in the filing cabinet. So when you opened up the filing cabinet, there were pink folders that matched the ones on the computer, and they were all the HR.
I love it.
Everything was so systemized. It was brilliant. I absolutely loved taking potential buyers to have a look at that business, because I would show them, say, look, this is, and the potential buyers then think, hey, I could understand all this. I could do this. I could walk in here tomorrow and know how this all works and how it all operates and where to find things, which is what you were talking about before with documenting your systems. They need to be somewhere where people have got easy access to them. They're there all the time. I see.
Yeah, and everything should, it's same as that lady, everything should look the same. So my folder structure in System Hub, where all my documented systems are stored, and the folders in my task management, I use Asana, and my folders in Google Drive as well as on my computer all look the same. So it's replicated exactly the same way, not color coordinated. That would be the next step to go to. But, you know, they're stored in exactly the same way. So it doesn't matter where I'm looking. I know that I can find what I need because it's in the same place, essentially. I'm looking at the same thing, just on a different platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have any examples, some clients you've worked with, some, businesses you've helped?
Oh, so many. So I helped a very small business down in Busselton sell because she was an owner-operator running a gourmet gift hamper business, and all the knowledge was in her head. So we needed to get that out of her head so she had something to pass on so that it was attractive to buyers. And we went through the SYSTEMology framework, and not only did we document the critical client flow and the revenue generating activities, but it was really important to capture all of the information in her head that would need to be passed on to another potential buyer. So all of her suppliers that she used, all of the hotels that she had connections and contracts with, all of the ways that she did postal. So some if it was a local thing, she would do a delivery, a drop-off. Sometimes she would use a courier if it was overseas or over to the eastern states, and then sometimes she would use Australia Post. So all of those things were like really important to capture, and she has now sold her business. And I'm working with an accountant at the moment who have identified that they want to sell, but they'd like to scale the business a bit before they sell to add value and make it less reliant on the directors currently involved in the business. I worked with a patio manufacturing company who were purchasing the business from the previous owners, and they wanted to capture the information before the owners stepped out. So I think they worked together for about 3 months before the previous owners left. And so we spent that time capturing that information so that they wouldn't just walk out of the door with it. I mean, it was a big business, very busy, and none of the information was captured. And so everyone roughly knew what they were doing, and they had a lot of people in the business. And I think, again, that's a mistake business owners make, is they think, oh, I've got great people and I've built this fantastic team, so I don't need systems. But at the same time, you don't own your people, but you do own your systems. The people can come and go, like we've already said. And so
Yep.
I think it's really vital to capture the knowledge, because otherwise you are at risk of being person dependent. I've also just finished working with another company that do like roller shutters and patio blinds, and they're looking to franchise. So again, it was about capturing that playbook for how it's functioning. Not just capturing, but refining to make it absolutely work consistently on repeat before they look to go, because they've got grand plans, that they're real visionaries, and they'd like to open another business in Queensland doing the same thing. But imagine the chaos you'd be in if you were trying to create something in another state, while if you haven't really got it right and you haven't got your systems, they've got a young family. In fact, all of the people I've worked with have got young families, and they're missing out. So yeah, there's a few examples of businesses I've worked with to either generally people want to either streamline, scale, or exit. Those are the sort of three areas that people come to me wanting. They're either in utter chaos and they need to kind of claw back some control and stop being at capacity and, literally missing out on family time and just being able to, they're the ones that are answer all the emergency calls, fix all the problems. Or they've scaled to a certain area and they've started to build a team, or they've got a team that they know and trust, but they've realised they've reached that sort of plateau. They're stationary, and they have been for a while, like nothing's happening because there's no more hours in the day and no more capacity to grow. Or people have recognised that they want to replicate or exit.
And that, you made a good point. When we were talking about franchising, I meant to mention it because you don't necessarily sell your business many times, but if you want to scale it and operate in other states or other countries, then you need to be able to replicate what you're doing in head office, if you like. So get it all working in the one business first, then it makes it easy to open up branch offices or international offices and scale the business up.
Yeah, because you're putting a lot of trust in people to run your franchise or your business, but in another region. And so you need to know that they're doing it the way you need it done, the way you've made it work the first time, and duplicate it.
And with things being cloud-based and accessible from anywhere these days, it makes it a whole lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Nicola, this has been great. Anything else you want to add, or any more tips you've got for people, or before we wrap up?
No,
we could talk forever on this.
I know, yeah. I mean, I do. I really just want business owners to recognise that they don't have to be stuck in their business in that sort of endless survival mode, and really to identify that it is okay to step out and have more freedom and time flexibility to choose how you spend your time, and give yourself the space to make choices around, all right, am I going to scale my business? Am I going to step out? Am I going to enjoy my rewards? So yeah, and recognizing that systems is the way to do that, and not just plug gaps with more people, or because you're busy, grab more people and put them in, because you're just putting people into a business that isn't being consistent, and you haven't got a full understanding of how things are operating. So I want the best for business owners, and I want them to succeed in a way that makes sense and allows them to have control, but also flexibility around their time.
Yeah, and if you've got great systems, it makes it easy to train new employees and get them up and running quickly.
Yeah. And we want the productivity of the business to continue no matter what, right? So even if someone leaves, ideally we should be able to get someone into that position, onboarded and trained fairly quickly and efficiently, without the business owner needing to take loads of time out of their day to get them on board and then deal with all the interruptions and the questions that come with having someone new. So if you've got all that knowledge secured, people can find solutions to their own problems. It means they're empowered to be able to do their jobs and learn their jobs without needing to constantly ask and interrupt and not fear that they're doing it wrong. And, you know, the whole atmosphere of the business changes when you've got that knowledge secured.
Yeah, and the culture, and it becomes a much nicer place to work.
Yeah.
So you tend to keep employees as well that way.
Yeah,
Well,
we know a lot more. Sorry.
No, I was going to say one way that my business partner and I, when we were setting up our training business to sell it, we created an operations manual. And again, in those days, it was mostly paper-based, but we created a manual which we thought was complete and fine. And we had an admin person who helped us put it all together, and she put all the stuff in there that she did, and it was all, so this is good. And then one day our admin lady came and said, look, I want to go off to New Zealand for 2 or 3 weeks to visit family and things. I haven't seen them for ages and stuff. And we thought about it and said, oh, this is fantastic, go. Because it enabled us to get a temp in, give them the operations manual and some introduction, obviously, and a little bit of training before the admin person went off on holiday. And we said to her, look, there's the manual. We want to improve this manual. So you use the manual, and anything that doesn't work or any questions you've got that come up, tell us. And it was a fantastic way of testing our systems and testing the documentation, because someone with a completely fresh set of eyes looking at something will see it differently to the person who's doing it all the time.
Yes, that's music to my ears. And in fact, in the Systemology book, David Jennings talks about the vacation test, because you don't know. Someone new comes in and tests the system. You don't actually know that it can be followed. And that's a part of our system for systemizing as well when it comes to extracting and organizing. At some point, you need to have someone review those systems who's never done them before, because it's all very well thinking, oh, yeah, I've captured those systems. My business is running with Swiss watch precision. But then that person leaves and someone else comes in and can't actually follow the systems. You haven't really achieved anything. So that is a really important step to get them looked over by fresh eyes, for sure.
Yeah, I like that term, the vacation test.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's absolutely true, isn't it? And for yourself as well, like if you're wanting to go on holiday as a business owner and you think, oh, yeah, I've captured everything, but it's not till you go that your team go, oh, I'm stuck at step 2, and that's no use to anyone.
Yeah, it's been terrific, and I'm sure there's a lot more we could cover, but we should wrap up now. We will wrap up now. How can people get in contact with you and follow up with you if they want to?
Yeah, thanks, John. So my website is greenpillarsco.com. And from my website, I can give people a free copy of the Systemology book. So it's very clear that where you can order the book from when you go onto the website. And you can tick whether you would like an audiobook, an ebook, or a physical copy of the book. And yeah, there's also a free resource on there about saving time. And I send out a fortnightly newsletter. If anyone wants to be included in that, they can sign up via the website as well. And it really is a newsletter. It's informative. It talks about what systems you can create this week and really helps you to improve your business.
All right, that's fantastic. And we might put a few resources in the show notes as well. So
yes, I'd be happy to send those over to you.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Nicola. And yeah, thank you for presenting to my group and for coming on and sharing your knowledge and expertise with my listeners on the podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So what a great conversation that was, and lots of takeaways and clarity there. So Nicola's message is very clear. Is if your business relies on you, it's not a business, it's a job. And no buyer wants to buy a job. or it could be a practice as well, in which case that's a different scenario. But so systemizing your business isn't about red tape. It's not about bureaucracy. It's about freedom. It's about scalability, saleability, sustainability, all the S's. So it helps with all of those things. And Nicola's systemology approach shows that you don't need to document everything, and you don't even need to do it yourself. You just need the right structure and the right mindset. So if today's episode has made you realize that your business might be a little too dependent on you, well, that's a good thing. Awareness is the first step. So now it's time to take action. Become a business owner taking action. To learn more about Nicola's work, as Nicola said, head off to greenpillarsco.com. And if you're serious about getting your business ready for sale, don't wait until you're burnt out or until it's too late and you have to sell. Start building your systems now, and that will create value later. For me, you can contact me through johndenton.com.au or businessreadyforsale.com. Thanks again for tuning in to Business Ready for Sale. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share this episode with another business owner who needs to hear it. And until the next time, keep working on your business, not in it. Goodbye from me, John Denton, and hope to have you on another podcast soon. Thank you for listening, and I hope you got lots out of that episode. I want to remind you that if you go to the show notes on your podcast player, you'll see that you can text comments, feedback, suggestions directly to the show, and I will pick those up and respond to them. So just go to the show notes and say where it says send a text message, and that will go directly to the show. So comments, feedback, and suggestions for future topics would be appreciated. From John Denton, thank you, and I look forward to you being on another podcast soon.